Way! Playoffs? Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs. G'day, this is NFL Straya. I am your co-host, Jaymz Clements. I'm a guy. Here, back in Larry Armour Studios, sweating like a priest near a preschool. I'll tell you that much. It's a bit warmer here, Gaz. What are we doing? Anyway, you can see me on the NBL Supercoach show, the panel, NBA Australia, all the good stuff. AFL today, coming back very, very terrifyingly soon. But on the other side of this here screen is the one man who's had as much as, I don't know, to be happy about with his footballing team as myself, because a couple of bits of news popped off, which is very nice.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, a bloke who's sometimes singing a band called The Ramshackle Army, who you might be able to catch on the weekend. He's my mate. He's your mate. It's Fly Eagles Fly. It's Gaz. Gaz, what's going on?
I'm doing all right. It has been a good week for both of us, hasn't it? I'm happy to escape from this week's game, which I'm sure we'll get into. But there was some pretty terrible wildcard. Oh, you went into a big thing last week about the Super wildcard round, but it's dropped this year, Jim.
What the hell? It's like
there's no Super.
How can we personally attack Jim? How much he loves the Super wild card. They're phasing it out. Jerks.
Anyway, I've had a good weekend, mate. It's been good.
Nice. All right. Well, this is the NFL Straya Super Wild Card Wrap Show.
Fuck what you call it, NFL.
I'm going to call it Super Wild Card. I do not care. Playoffs week 1. We're going to wrap them all. There is a little bit of news. There's more coaching gear, and there's actually wacky coaching gear, which is fun. So we'll wrap all the games as well. We've got some mostly to do with a lot of the losers, because then we're going to talk about the winners, obviously, in the picks for the divisional round, which is very fun. I've got some quick weekly awards, and that's kind of it. I always like this kind of these shows, because we suddenly go from talking about 16 games to 6. And you're like, this should probably go a bit quicker, and then it's 5 minutes quicker. You're like, how does this happen? But
yeah, I think it was we'd be winding up last week, and I think we went for an hour and 20 minutes. So fingers crossed we can get back under the hour, Jim.
We'll see how it happens. All right, let's get into it. This is one big, dumb NFL Straya package for you. It's episode 119 of NFL Straya. Let's go! Ow! 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 God damn it! Ow! Ow! Oh, God! Ow! Ow! G'day, this is Sam Darnold. You're listening to NFL Australia. I just got sacked 9 times. Oh, God. All right, guys. What a week 1 it was in the NFL playoffs, right? That was Sam Darnold. He basically could have actually been me. I played pub cricket on Sunday. We came back from down the beach on Saturday. And I got to hang out with mates and smash a million tins in the rain and play some cricket, and woke up feeling like, I don't know, got hit by a truck. Sam Darnold, the exact same experience, I reckon, today, right? 9 sacks. 9. Absolutely ridiculous. But what a weird super wild card round it was. I think we had one good game.
Yep.
1. It was ridiculous. What are we doing? We got a doinked in game winner, which was certainly a way of finishing a game, and it was kind of entertaining. That was a sick game. But I think you look ahead, and I think this is the long-held opinion of me, right? I love the Super Wild Card round, but divisional round is always the best weekend of the playoffs, right? You got more games, and you've gotten rid of all the riffraff.
Yeah, but you've still got enough games that keeps you entertained the whole fucking way along.
Exactly. Right. So we've got a Vikings blowout, a Bills blowout, one good game, a doinked in game winner, and that's kind of it. It was strangely devoid of much drama, really. Apart from the Commies Bucks game, which was, it felt weird that it was going to be the Sunday night game anyway, but it delivered way more than the other ones. So
goodly. It delivered goodly, Jim.
Yeah, exactly. I think the big thing is, we'll get to Eagles Packers in a second, but it felt like they just sort of never had a chance, because your pop gun offense wasn't doing much, and they kept losing dudes. So
yeah, but even things like the one that was, I guess, the result that we against the result that we all expected, being the Texans. Even that wasn't a close game. It wasn't like the Texans have come to show up and have squeaked this one out. It was
they smashed them.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
So,
great job, everybody.
Yep.
But the big news obviously is that my team has a new coach. Pretty good. And the
As
Cowboys.
we said last week, replace one linebacker who played with fired head coach with another one who played for Bill Belichick. Yep,
Like
one
it.
for another.
Anytime they kept whipping out like the Mike Vrabel stats about when he was a Pat, I'm just like, oh, that just makes me happy. It's still amazing though that now, so the Pats go and hire Mike Vrabel this week. They moved obviously pretty quickly. We kind of knew that was going to happen last week when we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, boom, it goes on. He was like, yep, I like the idea of Drake May. It's great to come home. This is awesome. Ready to go to work. I'm sick of the players feeling entitled. Yeah, some hard assery, I reckon, up there in New England, which is very fun. But I love Vrabel because like there is like the weird connective tissue of like he ended the Belichick Brady era with that insane Titans Patriots playoff game 5-6 years ago, and yeah, now he's back in the fold. Kind of stoked because you look around. I'm just happy that A, Mayo's gone, but also B, we didn't get any of the other dudes. I'm happy with that. The Raiders, as also predicted, fired Antonio Pierce. I think when we taped last week, was basically hanging on by a thread. He's like, hey, until I'm told otherwise, I've still got a job. He was then told otherwise. And the Raiders now paying, I think, like 8 coaches. So
yeah, three, Jim. I think I did the maths. It was we know because we don't fully know Antonio Pierce's that we've got, but then you've got, I think it's 4 left because Gruden had 6 left when he was sacked. That was 2, so he's got 4 left. I think it was McDaniel had like 3, so I think there's at least 1 left of him and at least 1 left of Pierce. So fuck now.
Look, anytime you can pay 4 head coaches, 3 head coaches to not coach for you, like that's awesome. Like, it makes the team much better, and you're a much more sort of stable franchise. And the Cowboys, that was the big one today. Part ways with Mike McCarthy. Like it's just they amicably agreed to part ways. They couldn't agree on terms and new contract. My favorite part of this is the Dallas screwed themselves out of the negotiating window with the incumbent coaches out there like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, and just sort of did the Dallas thing, right? Like they dragged it out too much, and it's going to bite them in the ass.
And they've also said they declined the Bears an opportunity to interview Mike McCarthy, who just waited a week, as we said last. And now he's going to go and interview for the Bears and Saints and have a chip on his shoulder.
He feels like an NFC North coach, doesn't he? He's just got that big, dumb, fat head on him. And you're like, that's the man who coaches the Green Bay Packers. That's the man who coaches the Chicago Bears. He always felt weird in Dallas. Like after that weird psycho Jason Garrett, that grinning lunatic grin on his face. But I'm just happy if he lands the Chicago job. I'm all for it. I think that's just a fun fit, I guess.
Yeah, but we said all through the year that he made himself kind of irreplaceable during the season because he did what was smart, right? And that was Kellen Moore was coming up and was a bit of a challenge, and so he fucked him off, who went to spend a year at the Chargers. He lost Dan Quinn, didn't replace him with anyone. He's got Zimmer and Schottenheimer, right? Like neither of them are going to step up into his role. So he had all the power in this. And so he's probably gone and asked for $1 billion fucking dollars. And come on, Jez, you're in this win now mode with Dak and fucking all these boys. And it didn't come off. It's like, see you fucking later.
Jerry Jones is like, I don't care. I'm going to go goddamn hard Deion Sanders. And off he goes. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
If only they could also, draft Shadua. But so with that in mind, now you've got openings there for coaches in Dallas, as well as Jacksonville, as well as Chicago, as well as Las Vegas, as well as presumably the Saints. We're not entirely sure about the Rizzler, though he has actually been interviewing for other jobs, which I found fascinating because it's like the Jets. It's like, yeah, we talked to Darren Rizzi. It's like, did ya? Did you chat to him? Did you go, hey, what's going on with your weird ears, you weirdo? And, of course, the Jets, who don't have a coach, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Out of all of those, which ones of them do you reckon are the most desirable? Like, if you were just like, cool, I'm a head coach, I could command, say you're Ben Johnson there, Gaz. You're like, I can command pretty much any gig I want, presumably. I mean, Ben Johnson has already come out and said he's like, I don't want to go to the Saints, and I think it was the Jets, wasn't it? So, yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, the two things you've got in Dallas, Dallas at least for 1 year, presumably, and Chicago is you've got your QB, right? You've also got meddling, horrible ownership. So both of those are negatives, but you've got the glory of the star on your helmet in Dallas. But I feel like, you're not going to be. The expectations are pretty far up there, right?
I feel like with the Bears, you've got like very low, like you've got a really good fan base with like just
100%.
The expectation is just like, please just don't suck.
Yep.
Like their ownership is just like this bunch of weird oldies who are just weird.
Yep.
And like just sort of suck at running a franchise. It's like, we want to be respectable and we're the respectable organization. You haven't won anything in a million years. What are you talking about, you idiots? We think we're like the Steelers and the Ravens. Like, no, you're horrible. You're moribund. But you do have a QB.
Yep.
Maybe.
That's it. And you're now at a point with the Jags where, all right, we've blamed the coaching for two lots of underperformances by Trevor Lawrence. At what point does he become the common denominator? Right? Is he going to end another head coach's career before that goes? You know what? This, golden locked generational talent is a red zone QB, as we call them, right? You just see those couple of highlights and there you go. So
yeah, I feel like Chicago might be my favorite.
Yeah, it's got to be there.
You can probably make more of an imprint if you just rock up. It's like the sort of the stepdad, right? Where it's like, if you're not just like the crummy dad, you sort of like just be cool.
Yep.
Like kids are just like, wait, you don't suck. You didn't go to the bloody shops for cigarettes and milk and never come back. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Away you go.
Bar is not high.
But yeah, the Deion Sanders vibe in contention in Dallas is hilarious. I love that. Outside of this, I mean, you've got all the GM stuff sort of flowing through. Just look at Schefter's tweet notifications if you need a sort of list of all that. I've just thought, like, how much do you reckon that weirdo gets off on that sort of stuff? It's like, this guy interviewed for the assistant GM job. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just like some dude, some suit. And you're like, all right, suit, shut up. Anyway. Any other injuries there, Gaz, after these 6 games on the weekend?
As well as, I mean, there was injuries all around. If you look at what happened to the Packers, as we mentioned, but the big one that we know from the Eagles at least was Nakobe Dean, who'd been having a challenging time since he came out of Georgia and went to the Eagles. Finally had a breakout with Zach Bond and has been he's torn his patella, so he's out for the rest of the playoffs. None of the other ones sprung to mind. So, anyway, there we go.
Nice. Righto, then let's get into some wraps from Super Wildcard Round. Cast your mind back. Houston. Chargers.
Well,
the game. 32-12. As you mentioned earlier, it's like, wow, that's a bit of an upset, and it wasn't even close. But it was. And then it wasn't. What a weird game. So this game completely flips, right? Like, Stroud can't do anything. They can't run the ball. The Chargers are looking ominous, but they're not really taking advantage of it. They're, up 6-0. And then suddenly the Texans manufacture 10 points in 58 seconds. Just before the end of the half.
Yep.
Insane.
6 minutes. It was almost like the offense hadn't stepped off the bus until 6 minutes left in that second quarter.
And it all turned. The entire game just turned the 3rd and 16, where they fumble the snap, right? So Stroud gets it. It's a fumbled snap. It's going all wild or whatever. He recovers it, scrambles around, and then, like, everyone's kind of, like, given up. Seemingly. And they're just like, oh, he's going to throw this. Oh, no, he's just found Hutchinson in the middle of the thing, and boom, first down. And a completely different game from then on, right? Like, because they score a touchdown on the rest of that drive. And then, after a 19-second possession, a 19-second 3-and-out from the LA Chargers. 19 seconds. They threw it 3 times. They burned 19 seconds off the clock. Stroud drives the field for a field goal, and they're suddenly up 10-6 going into the second half. And then they
never look back.
dominated them the rest of the way. Like, it was the defense. The Chargers couldn't do anything. Herbs threw 4 interceptions in the end. He'd thrown 3 all season. That is just bloody nuts. Breaks my heart, obviously, Gaz.
Yep.
And I don't know. Their defense fell apart against the run game. Mixon goes off over the last 3 quarters. He had, what do you have, like 4 yards or something in the first quarter or something, and then just rips off the rest of them.
The rest of them, yep.
And you're like, I think he ends up with 106 and a touchdown. And the weird, like, I think the best part was it was incredible to see like their offense just sort of wake up.
Oh, it was honestly, it was Nico Collins woke up. He'd not had a reception in the first quarter. And then there was I guess it was a slant that they snuck in there, and Nico just took 4 dudes with him, and you're like, oh, the moment he started to get some momentum, Jim, it was if you go into arm tackle him by yourself, you're fucked, and that's pretty much what Collins did for the rest of the game. Whoa. It was monstrous. Why he fucking just running through dudes. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, we've now got Juzzy Herbs. So your mate, as Jesus, as they're calling him, Jaden Daniels, has now as many playoff wins as Juzzy Herbs in 5 seasons. Now, don't get me wrong. I think we said last week, I'm pretty sure, the Chargers were playing with house money because this was supposed to be a rebuild year with Harbaugh coming in and changing a few things, young defense, all that sort of stuff. But fucking hell, we all thought that Houston had been fucky and the offense not clicking for weeks. You know, Tank Dell gone out. It was all honed in on Nico Collins, and all of a sudden they woke up, as you said, and here we go.
Absolutely nuts. Chaos vibes.
Yeah.
Annoying vibes. And I don't know, just hurts my heart. I don't think Herbs has actually got a playoff win. So I think Daniels is now ahead of him.
There you go.
That, I mean, hurts my brain a little bit, but anyway. It was just disappointing. I think if you're a Chargers fan, you expected much more.
Oh, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, the defense just sort of giving up was a bit of a weird one. But as I said, like Houston's balance was awesome. 34 passes versus 33 rushes. Like it was sort of perfect. And like Stroud was really good. But the thing that just sort of sticks in my brain is like that first quarter and a half where he looked completely out of whack. And the Chargers looked like they were just going to stomp him. And then they just didn't quite take advantage of a couple of weird hiccups. And then it all just fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, now Houston get the really fun part of going into play Kansas City. The next game on Sunday afternoon, 28-14, the Ravens schmockerate the Steelers. This was a laugher. It was 21-0 at the half. Like they scored on the first possession, I want to say, and then just sort of never looked back. Like Pittsburgh scored out of the half. Like I think Ravens had the first possession out of the half. Pittsburgh score a touchdown. You're like, here we go. Oh, no, the Ravens score again and the game was over.
Yep.
It was because, I don't know, they got these 2 big dudes that ran for 299 yards. It's pretty good, Gaz, just saying. Derrick Henry.
It was wild in the sense that Lamar, from a pass game point of view, just had to do enough because the expectation was that he wasn't going to, that they were going to miss Flowers, basically. And they didn't. Which play? The first one to Bateman, you're like, oh, okay, he's just gonna move around and just give people time to get open if Flowers isn't there, and see you later. The one down to the 25-yarder to Likely was fucking shit hot, and then you're like, oh, these Steelers defense just haven't got much. And one of the things that the Steelers had been susceptible to, was the run game, and Desert just went fucking bunter, just absolutely out of the blocks from the beginning, and yeah, they just couldn't. The play that was the 44-yarder that was straight up the guts, where my parents were sitting at home, they were over, and I'd said to them as soon as this game started, I'm like, oh, it's going to be on the background, but this game's going to be over at halftime. And then I had to actually rewind it. My parents give zero fucks about NFL. I'm like, just watch how big this guy is compared to the others and still how quick he gets through. They had no fucking chance. 44 yards, see you later. And that's pretty much the summary of the game. The Steelers just had nothing. And it continued the slide of, five games in a row. And last week was the only one that wasn't by at least 14 points.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Look, we called it all at the beginning of the season, but we didn't expect, once they had, I guess, we felt that they'd gone over the hump, we didn't see the fall off as being so significant. And the other big stat that came out of this was that TJ Watt did not trouble the scorers. Not a single stat in this game. Yeah. So anyway, Steelers go back and revise. And the weird thing is, people calling for Tomlin's head because now they haven't, they've lost the last 5 playoffs in a row.
Might talk about that later.
Okay.
There you go. But the 186 yards, the 2 touchdowns, the 50 carries for 299 yards for the team. Like, it was just massive. Lamar, the 81 himself. Like, it just was bloody massive. Like, they just controlled the game. They just went, it's kind of cute that you guys think you have a crack, but no, you don't. Similar vibes for Buffalo. Denver scored the first in this one. It was 7-0, and it finished 31-7. So,
and it was beautiful. That first drive was fucking beautiful. With that, the 43-yarder to Troy Franklin over the top, into the breadbasket. See you fucking later. Bo Nix, I'm like, oh, fuck, they might make a game of this. And no, that didn't happen. Josh Allen took over. It was, what do we have? Like, James Cook was busting out runs on the perimeter, and they just, once again, controlled the game. It was lopsided. It was the young upstarts, as we called it, I think, last week, just going, all right, back in your box, boys. Like, here we go. And that's it. Once again, a boring game.
It was a pretty rough one. Like, it looked amazing because you've got like all the crazy colors of the Denver uniform, which was pretty gnarly. But outside of that, like, I mean, Cook at 120 and a touchdown on 23 carries, and they, again, this is also the sort of thing, right? They just sort of dominated on the ground.
Yep.
It was 44 rushes for 210.
The teams who've won this week have been the ones who've won in the trenches, Jim.
That's it. I've never heard this one before. But, like, Josh Allen was really good too. Like, he only threw 26 times, but he went 20 of 26.
Yeah.
And it was just really, like, I don't know, they didn't force it, and they sort of didn't go, hey, like, they let just Josh Allen just sort of sit back and chill.
Yeah.
In that first half. And then it's sort of when they needed him, they sort of popped off. And I don't know, but Bo Nix, like, you can't really blame him for this one. Like, their offense was just very ineffective. Like, they had the ball for not even 19 minutes. It was like, I think just over 18 minutes. So not great. And Buffalo sort of ran roughshod over him.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like, who do you reckon got the better warm-up game out of those two teams? So Baltimore, Buffalo.
I feel like, I don't actually, that's
it's a good one.
Considering they play each other and both teams didn't play, like, Buffalo is nothing like Pittsburgh and Baltimore's nothing like Denver. Yeah. So I don't think that really either of them had a very good warm-up game, but it's going to be a fucking cracker. Nice. Both of them were used to the colds. Both of them are, it's going to be good.
All right. Next one, we had Green Bay, Philly. This is a fun game, I guess. And when I say fun, I mean brutal and gross, and I did not enjoy watching it. 22-10.
Even I messaged you during the time going, this is fucking sucks. Look, the game was pretty fucking wild. Very first play, fumble. That was, debated whether it was a fumble. It was called a fumble on the field. They couldn't review and overturn it. Therefore, it remains a fumble. And Eagles all of a sudden have got a turnover from the word go. From about the 25-yard line, Jalen Hurts has what feels like an absolute, like, he felt like he sat open and untouched in the pocket for about 10 minutes on a play and then found Dotson. You're like, oh, here we go. And then the Eagles kicked a field goal and you're like, here we go. And then everything stopped, Jim, for both teams. There was like nothing happened for like a quarter and a half. And Eagles go in 10-0 at halftime. Jacobs starts to get things a little bit moving. Love starts to get things a little bit moving. Eagles come down and score a touchdown with Dallas got it. But a brutal, awesome fucking push through. Here we go. Kind of touchdown. Then Jacobs almost immediately comes back and busts through about 15 different Eagles, which is ironic because there's only 11 on the field. But into the end zone for an amazing touchdown of his own. But apart from that, it was really the Eagles' defense that did this. Three interceptions, no touchdowns for Love. Just kind of fell off the wagon. They just couldn't get anything going apart from that run game. Zach Bourne, pick 6. That was pretty much it. They didn't one reception for AJ Brown because they really didn't ask Hurts to do much. There was a few designed runs, but he'd had effectively 3 weeks off. So I think they were happy to keep it on the down low and knock a bit of that rust off, so to be. But that was it. A lot of injuries. Players seem to be dropping like flies. And it was just one of those games where you're like, whoever wins, like, let's just get out of here, pack up our bruises, and drop into next week. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad to walk away with that one. I thought it would be a lot closer, and I thought it would be more high scoring. The thing that got my multi was a 45 point over, and we got nowhere near that. So there you go.
Brutal. Yeah. I guess the reason Jordan Love wasn't throwing touchdowns because he had no one to throw him to.
Correct.
Dubs and was Jaden Reed also went out as well late, and
yeah,
it was obviously Christian Watson.
Always Watson was already out.
That was not great, and Hurts looked wonky. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'd be a bit worried, but
I'm not worried.
I'm not you. That's fine. But still, just win. Win, baby. That's win.
It. The best player. Quinyon Mitchell got his first interception of the year. And my favorite play of the game was obviously Saquon busting through the end for what would have been a 60-yard touchdown that he goes down and literally gives himself up after about 20 yards. Goes, what was I going to do? Race down there, I would have collapsed at the 1 anyway. I wanted him to collapse at the 1, Jim. I wanted those extra 50 yards or whatever.
Yeah, like Saquon. Like, it's not a close game.
Yeah.
Like, the clock doesn't just score another touchdown.
Yeah.
Because it's going to make it even harder for them to come back.
Yeah.
The 40 seconds you're about to run off the clock is if you just score another touchdown.
Yeah.
I think this has got this altruistic kind of vibe of like,
he's just a nice guy, Jim. He's just a nice guy.
Myself for the good of the team. Sometimes, for the sake of betting folks out there, maybe just take one.
Well, he said stats don't matter, but the funny thing is, all of the stats are now coming up about what the rushing record is for a full season, including playoffs.
There you go.
And he's now, I think he's about 200 or so yards off that kind of thing. Which is Terrell Davis, I think, has got the record. Anyway, so the other, as for that play, as he goes over to the sidelines, like, yeah, look at that, we've won. I'm just like, we're just going to run out the clock. Devontae Smith turns to him and points at the end zone. He's like, what the fuck, dude? Good times. Anyway, move on to next week, and fingers crossed it's a more entertaining game than that one, less brutal.
Maybe. Then we had Washington, Tampa Bay. What a game this was. 23-20. Washington win it with a joint field goal from Zane Gonzalez. This game was really, really fun. Like 23-20, you're like, oh, geez, it wasn't exactly a barn burner, but it kind of felt like it. There was always something happening. Like
100%.
It was sort of really back and forth, like a really fun sort of arm wrestle. Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, both sort of doing everything, like bits of rushing, bits of scrambling, creating stuff out of absolutely nothing. Like, it was amazing, I think, watching this, how much rested on them, both playing so well. And like the one sort of mistake just undid the entirety of the Bucks.
Yep.
Right. There's a muffed handoff and you're giving the ball back to the commies where you'd actually basically gotten it back after I think they'd failed on a 4th down, right?
Yep.
And so turn it over on downs, and then you give it back to them basically in the same spot. And then boom, they score a touchdown on a 4th and 2. Scary Terry gets the touchdown, and away they go. And it was like, oh, that feels pretty big. And they ended up winning it, and off they went. And the Bucks, again, this talk about time of possession again. Like, the Bucks had it for 24 minutes total. Like, it's really hard to win when you've got it like that. So that was fun as hell. And then Zane Gonzalez with his little OCD ticks was pretty funny sort of watching with the I think I was watching with the squid, and he's just like, Dad, why does he keep doing his hair? So I think that's his thing, buddy.
Yep.
And there's a thing with his socks and shoes, and that's what he does.
Superstitious. Yep.
And
but also the Lattimore Mike Evans thing as well. Just following him around all game, and Evans just got the best. Like, there were some passes in there. Like, how the fuck did he, like, just between dudes? Like, only Mike Evans can get that. Like, what the fuck, man? But that was awesome. And the other one that has to be mentioned is the Baker scramble, where he just, like, dropped the shoulder straight into a pool of linebackers, and just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to be trucking dudes. Like, but you know what? And he took him like 10 yards with him. It was like,
you have like a broken collarbone like 3 years ago. You had
what are you doing? But that's what's made Baker, like, when this team was written off. Like, I'm very glad, and I posted this on the Eagle Straya page. Like, I was going for the commies because I just didn't want to run in the Bucks again. Nice. Like, every time we run into them in the playoffs, and run into them this year, just, first it was Brady, but then Baker was just like, fucking has got it over us. And his scrambling has kept them in games and kept their games exciting. Even when Evans and Godwin went down earlier in the year, like, it was still worth a watch because he was trying to put this team on his back. And that's different than what you see with, I don't know, say a Darnold who's all of a sudden had some time and some quality receivers, and you see him as accurate. This is someone going, nah, fuck ya, I'm putting this on my back. And it makes you wonder how, you've had the Browns and you've had the Rams and the Panthers all just go, nah, Baker, you're a backup. And then he latches on and, like, fucking he's had some excitement back to the Bucks again.
I love it. Yeah, like, there's like something about it. It's like, there's a reason, I guess, why the Browns at number 1 are like, there's just something there.
Yeah.
And then he goes number 1, you're like, bit of left field action, but it's kind of awesome that he's sort of found a home.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was awesome, but the fumble, he was shattered by it too. So
yeah.
We'll talk about that again later. But outside of this, I mean, that was kind of the only sort of real hiccup in the game for them, and it cost them the game. Like, Daniels is amazing. He's like scrambling everywhere. Every time he gets hit, though, you're just like, Jesus, you're going to snap him in half. What are you doing? Leave him alone. Whereas Baker, as you said, just trucking dudes is amazing. But I guess, like, Bucky Irving had 77 yards. They couldn't really do much. The commies either. Like, they tried to get Brian Robinson going, and nothing really happening there. It was more the sort of Daniels thing, and once he found, like, was it Diami Brown as well? Was the one receiver that he also kept hitting outside of Terry. So good stuff from the commies. Their first playoff win in 20 plus years, isn't it?
Yeah.
30?
Dan Quinn's. Yeah. I did have that. I did have that stat in my head. But also, obviously, Dan Quinn's first. Jerry this week just had to watch fucking Kellen Moore, who we let go to keep Mike McCarthy, and Dan Quinn, who we lost, like, just win playoff games while he's sitting at home.
Wow.
Fuck. All of a sudden, just the team, the fact that Dan Snyder's gone after the very first year of Dan Snyder not owning that team, and all of a sudden they're exciting again and in the playoffs.
I love
weird.
that. Yeah. It's their first playoff win in 6,945 days. That's a lot.
That is.
That's
what is it? 2016 was it?
2006.
2006. There you go.
Actually beat the Bucks in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Jan 7, 2006. Anyway, good stuff. And then the final game, we had Minnesota 9, the Rams 27. This was just brutal. Like,
fuck.
Rams, I think the most impressive aspect of this is that with the LA fires going on and everything, They moved this game, of course, to Arizona, and weirdly enough, not Vegas. Just saying, it's bizarre that it wasn't Vegas. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's closer. What are you doing? But anyway, the Rams put all that sort of behind them and just kicked the Vikings' ass.
It was weird because all of the fucking the bullshit was even mentioned in this last week's episode of the fucking divisional the playoff seeding is broken. How can a 14-win team like not get a home playoff? Well, guess what? They get their ass kicked by a division winner on neutral territory, Jim.
Amazing. It is amazing. 9 sacks, wasn't it? Yeah, 9 sacks for a loss of 82 for Sam Darnold, who turned into a pumpkin at the exact wrong time.
It's even worse than that, Jim. If you look at the full stat line, 9 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 12 QB hits.
Oh.
He just had no fucking time. And this is an extension of what we said last week about the Lions. All of a sudden, that defense, who'd been the sore point of the Lions all fucking year, all of a sudden, they were blanketing Addison and Jefferson, and all of a sudden, Darnold was holding the ball too long, and the offensive line looked like a sieve. And this has just continued. So that's fucking nuts that they could, sneaky go from under the radar to holy fuck, they're 14 wins and quite confident now. And, Dan Campbell says last week, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Maybe.
Whoops.
Maybe not.
Whoops.
I don't know, but it's hard to sort of get across just how inept Minnesota looked, right? Like, you're sort of going, well, they've got Addison, you got Jefferson, you got Aaron Jones, and just nothing was going on because Darnold had no time. He looked shook. And when he had a second, he was still missing throws as well. Like, it was like
It was also holding the ball. Like, there was, when they were sacks, there was sacks that were like 14 yards. Like, they'd get some momentum, and then all of a sudden, a D tackle would just bust through the line, and Darnold's scrambling backwards. All of a sudden, it's gone to like a 15-yard loss, and you're like, Jesus Christ, dude! You've just that one. And realistically, this was not 27-9. You would think that this is a really efficient offensive thing from the Rams. They were fine, but you need to understand that this was an interception returned. There was a pick six. There was going for it on 4th down before the half. They went for it on 4th down at their own 40 and lost it. I think he got sacked there. I think it went for halfway, then the sack put it to the 40, and then all of a sudden they're able to double up and they're able to punch it in. And so all of a sudden there's a lot of points coming from just the Rams taking advantage of the opportunities that the Vikes gave them. Fucking crazy. Like, I didn't see this coming. But here we go.
Yeah, it was weird because it was, if you looked at some of the betting lines, like they sort of swung back towards the Rams more so than you would have thought. And it's like they're trying to like even it up a bit maybe. And the Rams came out and waxed them. And it wasn't even like a massive Puka Nakua kind of game or anything, or Kyron Williams ripping it all up. They just manhandled them. And the Vikings looked completely lost. So, yeah, a 14-3 team just looking that bad was just mind-boggling. But I don't know. McVay and co did a great job. And I just feel like that Vikings O-line just made it. Well, and that, I mean, both the defenses of like the Rams and the Lions the last 2 weeks have made the Vikings look bloody horrible. So, sucked in. What can I say? Righto, there you go. So that's the final, 8 is set, which is pretty cool. It means you've got the 2 1 seeds hosting next, Sunday our time, isn't it? I think they'll be playing those games on the Saturday. So Houston at KC, Washington at Detroit, and then you got the Rams at Philly. Whoa, watch out. And Baltimore Buffalo. What an absolute ripper that'll be. Anyway, let's quickly do some.
I would just like, once again, playing Monday. I would like a Saturday game, Jim. I'd like to be able to sit on my couch on a Sunday and just relax and watch football and watch the Eagles play. But no, Monday morning for you guys.
Well, I think
that's a little whinge.
Yeah, just you want that Saturday game for your team, but sucked in. You're just not going to.
Nah, it's not going to.
Your team is too popular. Yeah. All right, really quickly, as mentioned, some of the losers here. The Chargers, were they the biggest letdown of these losers from the weekend? Yeah, no.
I think the the comparisons for the comparisons to Dak Prescott for Juzzy Herbs
Oh,
and Jordan Love at the moment are not great for any of those people. But yeah, look, I think the Chargers, I think between the Chargers and the Vikes, but I think the Chargers we had winning, right? Because the Texans had been so fucky for the last month. We're like, all right, they've got this. And they just didn't show up.
yep.
Just not at all. They were like, yeah. So, yeah, no, I have to agree with that one.
Breaks my heart.
Mm.
I was yelling about, I can't wait to bet against the Texans, and then that happens.
Yep.
Still a good season for Denver. Yeah, nah.
Oh, 100% ahead of schedule. Like, what can you expect? At the beginning of this year, we had them as, I think we talked about this last week, but we were like, how the fuck are they going to have an offense?
Yep.
How are they going to put up any points? Like, Sean Payton couldn't do it with Rusty Wilson, and they didn't invest. They had no draft picks. They didn't invest in weapons or anything, and all of a sudden, Bo Nix makes, Cortland Sutton going off his fucking head. Like, this is great. Yeah, so definitely a year ahead of schedule, and you'd feel slightly confident if you were a Denver fan.
Nice one. Steelers. We were right. Yeah, no.
Yeah, 100%. We were right. We said the cliff was a little bit further away than we had first expected. They stuck it out a little bit further than we thought, but realistically, and the comments, we didn't mention it, but the comments from Pickens, right? When they were like, "Oh, you've been in the offense for 3 years now. Have you seen growth?" And it's like, "Yes." Are you confident moving forward? No. In the press conference, they're like, "Oh, you're getting moved on, son."
Amazing.
Yep.
They were 10-3 and finished 10-7 and then lose that one as well.
Yep.
Sort of what happens all the time. It's weird. Washington, are they the biggest, oh shit, they're on team, look out? Or was it just that the Bucks were like the NFC champs, NFC South champs? And you're just like, how good were they really? What do you reckon?
Look, I did take going back to when my parents were here watching the football, and they're like, he's like, "What are those numbers next to the team name?" And I said, "Oh, Dad, that's how they finished the regular season record and blah, blah, blah." Not that it matters now, because this is how it was in the playoffs. But I couldn't help but look at those things during these games and go, "Oh, yeah, this wildcard team, they still finished the season with 2 or 3 more wins than the division champs that they are playing."
Yeah.
But when we're talking about teams ahead of schedule, like the Commies look ahead of schedule, and you definitely want to make sure that you come out and jump them, so that they are playing from behind. Because if Daniels gets on a roll and gets that confidence in him, it's pretty tough to stop. Well, which the Eagles saw it. Like, he put up 5 turnovers, and they somehow still put up 36 points on our defense.
I also love that they won, because I think that's like one of the great uniform matchups we'll get next week.
Yeah, that would be great.
Is anyone stopping the Eagles? Yeah, nah. Or were the Packers just a bit overrated by the end? Yeah, nah.
Oh, look, the Eagles definitely have a lot to show. I'm so stoked on this defense. Zach Bourne making all-pro from basically being a fucking special team part-time linebacker, moving position. The exciting whites in our our secondary, Reed Blankenship and Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, like, being fucking locked down as a rookie. Like, I'm really excited about what's coming through. Jalen Carter's just destroying shit. If this gets, like, to be honest, I don't envy whoever has to play on AJ Brown next week, because had a quiet week. Had a week off.
So quiet. He was reading a book on the side.
Yeah. So had a week off. Comes back, barely used, has 1 catch. Apparently, reading a book is something that he often does on the sidelines, as is his way of getting back into focus, and he has certain sections highlighted. However, internet sleuths have worked out what that the name of the book that now escapes me, and Philadelphia fans have made that at the top of the New York bestseller list because of course they fucking have.
Yeah, what's it called? Like interior brilliance or inside of
Yeah,
brilliance?
excellence or something. Yeah. It's all about just focus, mental focus on it. Anyway, so look, if that defense can keep doing what it's doing against the Rams and trouble Stafford, and we can get a little bit more out of Hurts, who's going to be that one more week removed from the concussion. Well, then, yeah, I think it's good. But if we don't get any more out of Hurts and the defense for the Rams, who looked fucking shit hot today, if they tee in on Saquon like Washington got to when Hurts went off in that game, well, then we could be in a bit of trouble here.
Nice. Last one is JJ McCarthy, the happiest dude today. Like he's like sneakily happy, right? Yeah, nah.
The last 2 weeks, right? How much? Someone made a comment online. How much money do you reckon the last 2 weeks have just cost Sam Darnold? Right?
We'll talk about that in 1 second as well.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, JJ's like, oh, I think I've got a job. Like here. That's pretty nice. Right, good bloke of the week. Who are we buying a bit? Jaden Daniels. I feel like he just deserved it after the work he was doing in that game. God damn. For a rookie to look that good, look that posed, even though at times it sort of had like a bit of the old, he and Baker, obviously, like it felt like both of them, chooks with their head cut off a little bit of times.
Yep.
But he wasn't the one that fucked up. Like it was kind of Baker in the end. So that was pretty awesome. Zane Gonzalez, you got to buy that dude a beer. Jesus. At least it went in.
Yeah.
But have this one.
Double doink. Yeah.
Calm down, buddy. Just calm down. And Jared Verse, the flip into the end zone today was sick. Enjoyed that a lot.
Yep.
Because there's a great pylon cam view of that. And it's just like one of the great, just like pylon cam view. I love pylon cam. I want pylon cam in everything now. Like, how do we, like, pylon cam is so good that and I just get so angry thinking about it in relation to the AFL. Like,
100%.
Perfect. How can we just not go, we'll take a bunch of those and chuck them on our goalposts? Like, boom, done.
How do we, I don't understand. Sorry, this is not an AFL podcast, but I don't understand how we can't have those across the boundary line. The goal line. And why we're like, sorry, we don't have the right angle to fucking be able to determine that. You could literally put a fucking camera at the top of the pole and look straight down. I don't get it. Anyway.
AFL's got no cash here, Chop. No cash here. Old mate, no mates. Flog of the week. I mean, it's more old mate, no mates than for Baker. That fumble was like he'd done so much, and he's just sort of sitting there after it, just looking so sad and so heartbroken. And they've got one more drive or whatever it was after that. They get a field goal out of it, but they couldn't quite manufacture anything against a surprisingly sturdy Washington defense that had sort of not shown up for big chunks of the year, but every so often have these games you're like, oh, God, are they good? Oh, shit. And he just couldn't quite get them back into it. So that was fun.
All right, pause, Jim. I got a dog whinging at the door. Keep going.
Jeez. Anyway, the other one is obviously my boy, Sam Darnold. We mentioned Sam Darnold already. $100 million to you. Like, this has been thrown around. It's like, do you reckon he cost himself 20 mil? Did he cost himself 30 mil? People are like, oh, if you want to keep going, and you're like, hang on a second, how many mils has he actually cost himself? Are we talking 9 figures? And you're like, maybe 100 mil across the length of a contract. The way he'd been playing halfway through the season, if you're right, we need to extend Sam Darnold. The number that you probably put on there now versus what you put on it back then, my lord, it's probably 100 million at least across the length of a contract, right?
Well, I mean, we're now talking he's in that Kirk Cousins realm, right? Kirk Cousins at his peak, not when he fell off a cliff this year. The Kirk Cousins was the stats monster who would get you to the playoffs and look good and then shit the bed, right? And that's exactly what Darnold's done this year. Don't get me wrong, versus the expectations of Darnold at the beginning of the year, he's, ahead of the game. But and compared to everything else, like, fucking come on, mate.
Old mate, no mates as well. Jerry Jones, you dummy. God damn it. Wow. God, how did I screw this up? Amazing work by him where he can't talk to Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn until after the Lions season is now finished for reasons. Where he's like, oh, no, just basically fucked himself for 4 days for no real reason. And now just might miss out on really good coaches and might be just going, right, Deion Sanders it is.
Yeah, it's hilarious because the Dallas Cowboys fans were all like, beginning of this year when it was all fucking said and done, it was like kind of, he's a lame duck coach unless we go well deep into the playoffs. We'll get rid of him and start a new thing, and this is going to be great. And then, obviously, setting records about home losses. This is with Dak. Like, then all of a sudden they've got some positive vibes when things come with, Cooper Rush gets some, oh no, this is all right. But still, he's gone. Mike McCarthy needs some change. Probably nearly need a new quarterback. Unfortunately, we won some games, so we're not going to have some good draft picks. This is going to be a bit shit, but next generation.
Love it.
And then it doesn't happen, Jim. And then it comes out a couple of days ago, they're back into negotiations. So fans start talking to themselves like, well, actually, we're going to fucking think if you take away the injuries and then we get like this few people back and then we're all right. So, yeah, no, Mike McCarthy is the right way. And then it came out today and you're like, hang on. What did we just talk ourselves in and out of?
You just fucked it. You just completely fucked it. To the point where it's old mate, no mates to a degree, where Troy Aikman is on the broadcast today going, yeah, it's a bit fucked. Like, I don't know there, Joe. Like, it's not exactly going to be burning down the fucking house to go and get that job. I'll tell you what. And Joe's like, you got it right there, white Jay-Z. But anyway, like, it was just when Troy Aikman is like, yeah, fuck. That's... You talk to football people, and yeah, I don't know. It's like, Jesus. It's fucking one of the biggest cowboy boosters out there. Anyway, suck in, Jerry. Outback Takehouse, real quick. I guess it's a flame grilled take. To fire Mike Tomlin, because he's bloody shit, Gaz. Only at Outback. Like, at some point, the worm has to turn, doesn't it? Like, last 4 playoff games, 28-14 lost to Baltimore. 31-17 lost to Buffalo last year. 42-21 to KC in 2021. 48-37 to Cleveland in 2020. They haven't won. They haven't gotten to the division round since 2017. It's insane. It doesn't feel like it's a Mike Tomlin problem.
I was going to say that. Like, look at the talent that he's been surrounded by. Yes, they missed on Kenny Pickett. But and I think it might have been Heed the Call or something like that, but it was what we were talking about their ability with diva wide receivers and running backs. Like, they just get the most out of these guys. Like, name a player that has done better after leaving the Steelers. Like, it just doesn't fucking happen. So he's got the ability to milk like what he can out of these players, but realistically, like, if they can get him a quarterback, the problem is it's that kind of that middle of the road that prevents the rebuild, right? You also need that time of being shit so that you can get the draft picks to make that happen. And it doesn't seem in their future.
Yeah, the Kenny Pickett whiff is kind of like that one where you're just like, oh yeah,
that kind of turned the franchise.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think you'd love to have Mike Tomlin as your coach, I feel like. And I think as a fan base, you'd be stoked. But at some point, you'd go, why don't we win playoff games?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Anyway, little Aussie battler of the week. We've still got both the Aussies involved, of course. We've got Daniel Fa'alale and Jordan Mailata did a bloody good job, I reckon, the other day. Every time you watch him, and like, it's one of the good things about when you hit the playoffs, you've only got the one game at the one time. You're sort of focused in on it a little bit more, and you're just watching Jordan Mailata just truck dudes. You're like, this is great. Just double team bloody DNs, and you're like, get him.
There's some weird stat we already knew. I think we mentioned earlier in the season that when Saquon came over, it was he had the most contact behind the line of scrimmage for the Giants last year, in the fact that they were so bad on offensive line that he was touched almost immediately. The stat from the Eagles is that they have that running backs for the Eagles have an average of 2 yards before being touched. Right, as in straight up the offensive line, and that's just because they're just opening fucking holes. And the league average is like 1.1, and Eagles are 2. But that's like fucking when you've got Lane Johnson and Dickerson, and at the beginning of the season, it was like, Eagles are fucked because Travis Kelce, Jason Kelsey's retired, and then Cam Jurgens goes to the fucking Pro Bowl.
Amazing.
Anyway, good times.
And Fa'alale's doing a pretty good job there. I mean, there's a reason why you actually can make
big fucking unit.
You can make Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson work, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Righto, let's do it. Ready for some divisional round picks?
Can we talk about the last week's picks?
Yeah, I'll get to that. I just want to set up the super divisional round.
Oh, right, okay.
I just want to say super. I got my head kicked in by Gaz this week. I mean, this is the contrarian play where I think all the picks that I had in last week's show, I think I definitely didn't. Did I? I think I picked. No, I think you ended up going Washington. I think I ended up betting Washington. I think I bet Philly as well. So yeah, I didn't actually. I should have probably messaged you and gone, "Oh, hey, FYI, I'm betting against my own picks from the show." But that's on me, so I'm an idiot. So I think you're.
The Washington one ended up being a push because.
Yeah. So a bit of a tough one, but anyway, I think it means that you're a.
Oh no, I did win that. No, because it was Tampa were favorites.
Yes, yeah, because they were plus. So you laugh. So I think that means that you've moved out to a 12 lead.
Half a slab.
Gonna owe you a couple of beers at the end of
this. I'm no maths magician.
12 is a lot.
But Jim, I'm just gonna say that we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 games to go.
I can't win. So.
I don't think that works in your favor.
The thing is, I'm going to try to. It's look, you're all or nothing at this point. I'm going to try to pull this back to 7, and
all right.
Pull it back to 5. Right, whatever. See how we go. So I'll go opposite you in all of these, and we'll see what happens. Okay. I'll just set you up a tab at the Super Bowl party. But either way, this week we start off with Houston at KC.
Some pretty big fucking lines. I'm just looking down now, Jim.
That's it. It's like there was some. If you look at the results of last week, there was like a couple of like not exactly wonky ones, but if you look at who was favored, if you had a sort of dodged around favorite underdog, kind of laughing. But this week's a little bit different with the 1 seeds here, and. Like, we haven't put our picks in, but Houston KC at 7.5 for KC. It's pretty hard to like go, well, KC off a couple of weeks of rest versus rust. You know how I love leaning on that. But I'm also pretty convinced that that Houston are a bit shit still. And like, this is just a head kicking waiting to happen. But look, I'm still going to go Houston. Maybe they pull it back with a late, cheapie and they cover the 7.5. Like KC have always they're famous for not covering big lines. So let's just go Houston. But I think, look, CJ Stroud and co, their total DVOA rank all seasons has been very middling. KC's are still pretty high because their defense has been like that awesome all year, whereas offense has been like that sort of little bit of a weird one. But if Houston, like the way that they got their sort of edge rushes to Juzzy Herbs and like just ruined his shit all that game, forcing those 4 interceptions, maybe they can sort of make KC work for it and KC just pull another one of their ass. Maybe, but it feels like this should be a bit of a head kick. Houston outside in the cold, in Kansas City, in a big spot. I don't have too much faith in them.
A couple of concerns for me is that the KC offense really started clicking before they took 3 weeks off, Jim.
He hasn't thrown bloody Patrick Mahomes hasn't thrown a pass since Christmas.
Yeah. And so there's that. There's that combined, like if they could start slow, that combined with the fact that they have they may take their foot off the gas and there could be some garbage time and that 7.5, like it's different in the playoffs, right? Because take your foot off the gas, like, oh, we can always come back next week. But fuck, there is no next week. So Stroud's going to be, if they are playing from behind, he's just going to be lobbing bombs.
Yep.
So there could be some garbage time shit. But I think, look, the smart decision is to just go, you know what? They had to push real hard. They got over the Chargers. And KC's just going to come out and back in your box, boys. Like we're a division winner. Chargers, you're ahead of schedule, but back in your box.
Yep.
Feels like KC might come out and do that.
Yeah. Feels very older brother kind of vibes.
Mm.
And I guess this is it. Like the three-peat charge starts now, like which is
Yeah.
insane. It hasn't been done for a bajillion years, and let's go.
Mm.
But 7.5. Yeah, come on, Houston, help me out. Save me a beer. Washington at Detroit is the other one on the on our Sunday, which is a 9.5 point line. And I've been given basically Washington here as Gaz is taking Detroit. I don't feel too crazily bad about 9.5 because as you sort of hit on, right? Like if Washington can get off to a fast start, and we know that Detroit's defense has been that little bit wonky just because of all the injuries they've copped, but they've been pretty solid over the back half of the season. But if Washington can sort of ride a little bit of that momentum, get off to a half decent start, I don't mind getting 9.5 points. Like Detroit can obviously pull it all back and end up winning pretty handily, but I'll take the 9.5 for Jaden Daniels and co-op against Jared Goff. Because like it feels like one of these teams is going to do something stupid.
Yep.
Like one of the favorites, which is KC, Detroit, Philly, and Baltimore favorites at the moment. Unironically, you've taken all of them. That's fine. That's fine. They call me Underdog Jim. That's all good. But 9.5. If the commies can get the run game going against Detroit, maybe. I believe. Let's go. I'm not exactly ringing with confidence, but let's do it.
Nah. So look for this one. I'm going to go back to the first Eagles game against Washington and that little patch in the middle when they played Washington played some heavy duty teams and they were full health and came up short. Obviously they knocked over the Eagles when Hurts went out and put up a lot of points, but we've got Detroit who are well rested. They've been having defensive players, starters come back week on week, and I think they'll just be refreshed, come out, and I think they'll take care of business.
Nice. So those two games are on our Sunday.
Yes.
Houston KC is at 8:30 Eastern, and Washington Detroit again, an amazing uniform matchup at noon. That's pretty fun. And then Monday, the big one, the LA Rams at the Link, 7 a.m. Monday, Gaz. What are we doing here? But still, 5.5 point line where your Philadelphia Eagles are favorites. You going to cover that? What do you reckon?
I don't like it. I'm not going to lie. I'm taking the Eagles kind of the field that I fucking have to. No, but I think it'd be interesting because Higbee went off today and didn't come back. So I'll be interested. I don't have an update on what that injury
back
was.
or ribs or something, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, and we've got having N'Kobe Dean out. It's not great for us because good in coverage. But look, I think our secondary will at least do some work against like Cup and Nakua, but a lot different than when they used to take us apart on a pretty regular basis with our former secondary. And I think a week removed from the concussion will help Hurts. Another good week of work in, and see how we go. So I think I think top to bottom we're the better team on paper. But that defense did look scary today from the Rams. Those young dudes are just flying around. So the 5.5 points, I would like it to be 3.5. But, that is what it is. And I'm going to take us at home.
Yeah, I'll take the 5.5 for the Rams. Just, in case like a Cooper Cup game happens or a Puka Nakua game's happening or a Kyron Williams game happens. Higbee had a chest injury and they sent him off for x-rays. McVay's like, yeah, he's okay. He should be okay to play next week. Maybe. But the Rams, look, I don't know. There's always something funky going on with that team. And I just like McVay versus Sirianni. I'll take McVay. So let's go. Plus 5.5. We're going the Rams. And then finally, an absolute barn burner of a game. Baltimore at Buffalo. The 2-3 matchup. 10:30 a.m. our time. Baltimore are favourites on the road in Buffalo by a half point or 1 point, as it were.
Yeah, I know. You said Gary's got all the favourites, but half point. I'm not really calling
Coin
that.
flip at
It's
that
almost
point,
a push, isn't it?
But yeah, so you've gone Baltimore. I've gone Buffalo. I had probably gone into this expecting Baltimore to win. I think they've looked more impressive
Complete.
just
Yeah.
just out of the two. Like
Yep.
Buffalo's defense still have like questions every so often, and then sometimes they have these games where the offense, even though it was like second overall all season, like it just has these like weird speed humps where you're like, what are they doing? Oh God.
Yep.
And they just sort of fall apart. Whereas Baltimore, it feels like they can always just go, Derek, just run over 8 dudes. And he's like, all
Yep.
right. And if it's like Lamar's not, well, he's like, yeah, if you can't do it, Lamar, you do it. He's like, all right. I'm not going to shit myself, but I'll run through 8 dudes. Check this out. So that said, because you've taken Baltimore, I will go with Buffalo just to keep up underdog Jim. And at home, like it's an amazing setup because both these teams need to win.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh, funny about that. That's usually how playoffs work, Jim.
They need to win.
Yeah.
Only one of them can. That's how this is all set up.
Mm.
Because like between Josh Allen, between Lamar Jackson, like it's both like someone has to take it to KC at some point.
Yep.
And they're going to knock each other off, these two, before even the AFC title game. So it's pretty bloody tough. And it feels like this might be the one where it's like, we get through this game. And then Kansas City just like get this poor wreck team and just like wax them and are in the Super Bowl again. And that's, of course, they are. So KC do. But Buffalo, look, at home, I'll take the half point and just fingers crossed that Josh Allen pulls one out of his ass. And the Baltimore defense has been awesome since they've sort of moved a couple of their DNs and safeties around, and basically the back half of the season they've just had it sort of click, which has been kind of nice to see. And it was always going to happen, but they just needed to find, like, Roquan Smith has been able just to basically focus on what he needs to focus on, because they've sent Kyle Hamilton basically further back to sit back and just like do his thing as like a strong safety or whatever. And he's like, all right, cool. And it's just worked. Whereas Buffalo, I just don't know about their defense. Anyway, go on Buffalo.
But have a breather and a think about how these championship games can play out, Jim. Because if we assume that KC wins, right, we're gonna have, potentially one of the potential MVPs for this year in the first year that Mahomes hasn't made it to even the Pro Bowl, right? Taking him on in the championship game, which is going to be shit hot. You could potentially end up with Stafford and Goff playing for the teams that didn't draft them against each other, right? Awesome. Or the Philly #1 defense versus the Lions #1 offense, or a fucking rookie in championship game against a division rival, or a fucking old warhorse like Stafford. Like, the combinations that could end up in these championship games are going to be fucking sick. And then you know what we're going to end up with? Fucking Houston versus Buffalo, but Josh Allen's gone out injured. And anyway.
Yeah, Houston will get through to play like Baltimore or some shit. And you're like, yeah, cool. Lamar Jackson's making the Super Bowl. Radical.
Yeah.
Or Houston are maybe on like a Cincinnati Bengals run from a couple of years ago, right? They were like, 10-6 and made the Soupy. And anyway. All right, so we're going opposite each of these ones this week. So Gaz got all the favorites, front runner, that's fine, and underdog Jim's fighting for the underdogs, for the common man. So they call me Common Man Jim. They call me a lot of things apparently, but that is it for episode 119, not almost 1,000, 119 of NFL Straya. Make sure you're jumping all over the socials. You can see us doing lots of fun stuff. I've got to come up with something in place of the power rankings. Maybe I'll power rank those coaching, vacancies, maybe during the week at some point. That'll be fun. So check us a follow across Facey, Twitter, IG, TikTok, YouTube, all the good stuff. Jump in the comments. Send in any nahs that you want us to cover off for Divisional Round and heading into the championship round the following week. That'll be pretty fun. Get around all the other shows as well. Of course, NBA Straya, it's back daily now. We also have the Cricket Today podcast, which is crushing it in this summer of cricket. AFL Today will be back way too soon. God damn, my head already hurts thinking about that. And plenty of other stuff. Gaz, you got a gig this week.
I am. I'm heading up to Wollongong. Well, I'm going by Sydney first. Going to have a nice night out with the missus. And then over to Wollongong to play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning at Illawarra Folk Festival. Funny thing, Jim, told them, well, I started to listen to the soft folky bands before and after us and went, oh, this is a bit of a worry. Do you reckon they know who they've booked? And then they said to us, we booked you because you're a loud punk band and everything is going to be the same. So they're going to get the full show. I don't know if I'm going to call everyone cunts. I'm going to try not to because there's families and shit there, Jim. But we'll see how it all goes.
Some poor 7-year-old's like, Dad, why don't you just call me a gun?
But guess what, Jim? I'm actually going to have beers with Matty O somewhere who's not Melbourne at the Super Bowl.
Awesome.
So, yeah, going to be in his hometown. And also, Matty O has just booked his Super Bowl tickets, which leads us a smooth transition into the fact that we'll be doing Catfish again this year. We're still working out the details and we'll be advertising it. Well, actually, jump on the Caddy. Facey, they always have beer deals and all that sort of stuff. And of course, it's the home of Sparrow's Philly cheesesteak. Not that they sponsor, but Gino fucking should by now. But anyway, go in and have a cheesesteak and have a beer with your mate Gaz and Jim, and we'll probably be doing the live stream and all that sort of stuff if Gerald ever gets back from leave. Maybe he's quit, maybe he's resigned.
Yeah, I
have no producer.
assume he's going to come back at some point. Right? This one, I'm just fingers crossed. But
Yeah, there you go. All good. That's it.
nice one. All right, make sure you've rated and reviewed the show across all of your podcast apps and all that sort of good stuff, and on YouTube, etc., on whatever weird app you use on your Android phone. It does help, so make sure you've rated, reviewed, commented, starred. Send through any questions you need to. Big thanks always go to House Hats for the intro and outro song. They rule. So that's it. All right. Well done, Gaz. Enjoy the gong, and I'll enjoy the myriad things that we have planned for this weekend, which just meant that I couldn't go to the gong and hang out. All right. We'll catch you next week, you dickheads.
See yas.
Later, hosen.
I've been broken. I've been stripped.